She used to call it bookshelf scent, musky, dry, like worn paper and lavender tucked inside a cardigan sleeve. She laughed at it for years. But now, standing alone in a closet still holding his sweaters, she presses the fabric to her face and realizes the smell is no longer his. It's theirs, a home steeped in stillness, medicine cabinets, curtains that haven't been drawn in weeks, a body learning to whisper its own undoing. It didn't happen suddenly. No one walked in one day and said, "It smells old in here." It was slow, like perfume evaporating from a wrist, a scent that built itself from quiet things, unopened windows, half-eaten toast, routines that grew gentler because the body asked for less, and because no one told her, she didn't know what it meant. She didn't know it was grief. Not just loss of a person, but of sweat's salt, of motion, of touch. One, the ledger in the walls. Some smells don't announce themselves. They settle, in curtains, in hallways, in the wool of an old cardigan that hasn't been worn in months, but still breathes like someone once lived inside it. It's not dirt, it's not mold, it's not even neglect. It's something quieter, the scent of existence gathered over time. In the back corner of the closet, she found it again. That faint, grassy undertone. Not perfume, not decay, just presence. It clung to sweater cuffs and the baseboards near the heater, and once she noticed it, she couldn't unnotice it. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was unfamiliar in a way that made her feel like she had been living inside a memory her body registered long before her mind ever did. Later, she'd learn it had a name, a compound the skin releases as it ages. Not because the body is failing, but because it's adapting, releasing what no longer serves, leaving trace molecules as soft signatures. Science might call it oxidation, a shift in lipid pathways, but the soul names it differently. It's the scent of staying, of a life lived in quiet repetition, of cups rinsed but not scrubbed, of conversations that hung in the air longer than the voices that made them. She touched the wall beside his chair, the one he used to lean against while undoing his slippers, and she wondered, was this what absence smells like when it lingers too long in the air, but still doesn't want to leave? No one ever told her that scent could be a ledger, that the body writes its own record in the room long after it's gone quiet. But now she was beginning to read it, not with judgment, but with recognition. 2. The grief of clean floors. She didn't expect the bleach to ache. The homemade had arrived that morning, kind, efficient, gloved. She moved quickly, wiping down rails, mopping corners, sweeping years into a bucket with practiced grace. It smelled fresh, crisp, like lemon and certainty, like hospitals and hotels and things without memory. By afternoon, the hallway gleamed. No more smudges near the heater, no more scuffs beneath the old armchair, no more quiet pockets of wool and warmth lingering in the air. And that was the problem, because somewhere between the clean tiles and open windows, he disappeared. Not the man, not the memory, but the trace of him. The soft scent of pipe tobacco she used to pretend to hate, but secretly missed when he quit. The earthy dampness of his socks after coming in from the garden. The way his presence lived, not in words, but in corners. That night when she walked the hallway barefoot, her chest felt hollow. She couldn't explain it, only that something had gone missing that no one else seemed to notice. She stood at the threshold of the living room, watching the light hit the floor just right, and for the first time she realized what had been lost. It wasn't dust, it wasn't bacteria, it was him, the version of him that still breathed through worn fibers and half-closed drawers, the scent of staying, of aging in place. No one teaches you how to mourn a smell, but now she knew. Sometimes grief doesn't arrive in silence. It arrives in bleach, And sometimes the things we clean too quickly are the things that tether us to what mattered. 3. The science beneath the scent. It didn't come all at once. The scent arrived slowly, like something the air remembered before anyone else did. It wasn't sweet, it wasn't foul. It was something in between, something earthy, faintly bitter, a little floral, like the edge of wilted jasmine on a windowsill left open overnight. At first, she thought it was dust, maybe linen that hadn't been laundered, maybe old soap, but the scent stayed, and it lived not in the fabric but in the room itself, in the places skin had touched a little too often and not been washed with the kind of attention that feels like love. Later, much later, she would learn what no one told her sooner, that as skin ages, the oils beneath it change. The fatty acids that once gave glow and resilience begin to oxidize, and in that oxidation, a compound rises, one with no real name you'd recognize, but one your nose never forgets. It's not decay, it's not failure, it's biology's soft flag, planted not to declare war, but to say, I'm still here, I've been here, I lived in this body, I stayed. It doesn't arrive with youth, it doesn't announce itself in middle age, but in the quiet seasons, when movement slows, when sweat fades, when skin sighs instead of shimmers, that scent becomes a kind of punctuation, not an end, but a pause, a whisper. The body doesn't use language the way we do, but it writes in molecules, in memory, in the kind of presence you don't smell until someone else isn't there anymore. And by then, what lingers isn't the scent, it's the echo of what we didn't know was saying goodbye all along. 4. The dawn window ritual. She doesn't open it wide, just an inch, enough for the morning to find her. The air comes in slow, cool, damp, uninvited but familiar, like an old friend who no longer knocks but still remembers how to enter quietly. She breathes in, not deeply, that as skin ages, the oils beneath it change. The fatty acids that once gave glow and resilience begin to oxidize. And in that oxidation, a compound rises, one with no real name you'd recognize, but one your nose never forgets. It's not decay, it's not failure, it's biology's soft flag, planted not to declare war, but to say, I'm still here, I've been here, I lived in this body, I stayed. It doesn't arrive with youth, it doesn't announce itself in middle age, but in the quiet seasons, when movement slows, when sweat fades, when skin sighs instead of shimmers, that scent becomes a kind of punctuation, not an end, but a pause, a whisper. The body doesn't use language the way we do, but it writes in molecules, in memory, in the kind of presence you don't smell until someone else isn't there anymore. And by then, what lingers isn't the scent, it's the echo of what we didn't know was saying goodbye all along. 4. The dawn window ritual. She doesn't open it wide, just an inch, enough for the morning to find her. The air comes in slow, cool, damp, uninvited but familiar, like an old friend who no longer knocks but still remembers how to enter quietly. She breathes in, not deeply. For years, she thought it was her fault. The faint scent on her clothes, the lingering musk in her room, the way a visitor might pause at the doorway as if trying not to react. She scrubbed harder, changed detergents, sat by open windows even when it was cold, because she believed what no one corrected, that the scent was something wrong, something unclean, something she should have hidden better. But now, after all the silence, after all the effort that changed nothing, she's starting to hear it differently. It wasn't shame, it was speech, a kind of language the body uses when we've forgotten to listen. Not a warning, not a punishment, but a gentle tap on the shoulder. I'm still here. I've been holding you this whole time. The scent wasn't neglect, it was loyalty, biology doing what it was made to do, releasing what could no longer stay, marking presence through molecules because the voice had grown tired of not being heard. She hadn't failed. She'd simply misread the message. And now that she knows, she breathes a little softer when she catches that scent. It no longer curls her with shame. It invites her to return, because the body never stopped speaking. It just waited for her to stop apologizing long enough to finally hear it say, "I kept you here, I stayed." And that too was love. Some mornings she doesn't mean to open the closet. She just finds her hand resting on the handle, as if her body remembered before her mind caught up. The door creaks a little, not from disuse, but from memory stretching itself open. Inside, everything is still in place. The sweaters, the folded scarves, the coat with the rip he promised to fix but never did. She doesn't reach for anything. She doesn't need to, because the moment the air escapes, she feels it. That scent, that impossible, specific scent that no candle could replicate, like cedar and breath, like old paper and something slightly sweet, like him, like them, like home. She doesn't breathe it in like memory. She breathes it in like proof. Proof that presence doesn't vanish. It settles in threads, in corners, in the folds of fabric, in the folds of time. She used to call it musty. Now she calls it faithful, because some part of her still lives in that scent, still curls into it when the house is too quiet, still finds herself again in the spaces that ask nothing from her but breath. She closes the door gently, not to seal it away, but to honor it. The scent will still be there tomorrow, and so will she. Maybe that's what staying really means, not holding on, but opening something you never stopped belonging to, even when the room forgot how to speak your name. Maybe it was a folded scarf, a blanket in a guest room, a drawer that hadn't been opened since before they left. And in that moment, before the thought, before the grief, there was scent. A life you didn't know was still living in the fabric. If something came to you just now, you can leave it below. Not to explain, not to share the whole story, just to mark that it happened, that it mattered, that it stayed. Because some of the people we love remain not in photographs, but in the air that waits quietly to be remembered.